Hello, welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Senna, aka Alinko. We're glad to be coming your way. We must say that we're very excited to be on the platform again. It's been about 2 months since we been off due to just a few reasons. We had to take a break. We had a great show, I'll say a great event with the exchange ceremony this June and had some other community engagement. So it was, I mean, some rest was due. So myself and part of the production crew needed to rest a little bit, but we did not rest from being active in our communities. We definitely engaged with other groups to make sure that we kept the community engagement or the community conversation going. And so part of that is being supportive with the Ghana National Council with the Ghanafest production this year, which was very, very successful. This afternoon, we will be talking about that post. We'll be having this conversation concerning post Ghana Fest, and it's titled Post Ghana Fest. Post Ghana Fest. But before that, we also want to look at the background of not necessarily the background, but the effects. So just basically reviewing and looking at how African culture has impacted the city of Chicago, the growth, whether it's declining or picking up. From my view, I think is growing. Having witnessed it for over the past 10 years. But we have this great ladies and gentlemen from the Ghana Fest team who will be discussing this with us. This is the Progressive Mind Show, your community building platform here in Chicago. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, also on Twitter. After the show, you can watch us, of course, on these platforms. We're also on Twitter. We're also on Instagram and on Spotify. We have a couple of our old episodes on Spotify every Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. We're here. And then Sundays from 4 to 6, between 4 to 6, we engage the community in this conversation. So we would like to, of course, bring our guests in and delve into why we're here today. My brother Cosby, we were talking about the fact that this is the first time he's ever shown up on the Progressive Mind, so we are privileged to have you. Cosby is here. Abena Ampofo of GNC. She is with the GNC. She's a business manager. And then we also have Dzifa Hosi, who is also an assistant business manager at GNC. But before we go in, I think, okay, Abena, I think among the three of you, you have been with GNC longest. Is that correct?
I guess count the younger years of dancing then. Yeah.
No, in terms of administrative wise, I think you've been with administration for a bit longer. And the reason why I asked is so you can give us how many years have you been with GNC, if I may ask?
This would be my 7th year. So I think Cosby and I came in at the same time.
Okay. So so viewers to be clear about what GNC is for people who are watching us for the first time. So especially your role. GNC is Ghana National Council. Everybody knows Ghanafest, but we're not going to go into the inception of Ghanafest. But as a business manager, what exactly is your role, Abena?
As the business manager team, our role is to work with more communities in terms of the Ghanaian mission, also finding opportunities for us to create more sponsorship and partnership deals along with the community, but then also reaching out and coming up with developmental activities so that we can help our community grow.
Thank you. So that would be the brief introduction of Abena, who she is and what she does. Abena Ampofo, who she is and what she does with GNC. Dzifa Hosi. So obviously you assist Abena. Are there any other roles that you would play at GNC that, of course, you would like everyone else to know?
Sana, you were breaking up a lot, so it's difficult to pick up from the last sentence that you made.
Yes, my apologies. I was asking if there are other roles that you play at GNC aside being the assistant to Abena. If I'm correct, are you her assistant or you all work as a team? And so just so I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we do work as a team. The other areas that we also pick up as business, as a business, is that we also work with the financial team. So we do have in conjunction with the financial team at GM.
Okay, so your specific role is working when it comes to business affairs of Ghana National Council and also assisting the financial team. Is that correct?
Yes, and then we do pick up a lot of operational activities as well.
Okay, so you say we do. I want to know what Dzifa.
And so that includes Abena and myself. Our office does pick up a lot of the.
Okay, and would that entail? Do you do something? Do you do something with PR? Because I know you're out there, selling Ghanafest sometimes. So sorry, I don't know if am I breaking?
Yeah, you did go off a little bit. I do not know if it's.
No, I was asking Dzifa that aside helping with, playing this admin and also supporting the financial team, I also see you out there talking about Ghanafest or trying to get the word out in terms of, some promotions. Are you part of the promotions team as well, or you just voluntarily just go ahead and add that to your portfolio?
So that was what I was trying to clarify before. Office, which is the business manager's office, including Abena and myself, we do pick up of Ghana National Council. So the operational aspect is the promotional office, which is going to be the media. We pick up any role. So when we have activities or when we have festivals or our annual activity, operational side of things, you would see us there. That's going to be one of our biggest.
Okay, so we're here to find out if it's if the feed from Dzifa is the issue or from here, and then we'll try and work in the background to fix it. Cosby, please tell us your role with Ghanafest. And again, welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. I'm glad you're here. Before you tell us about GNC, I know you come online and you do your favorite show, which is can you remind me of the show again?
That in his presence.
Yes. What was that? Inspirations?
In his presence.
In his presence. In his presence. How is the program? Are you still working on it?
We're working on it. I mean, just like you said, like you've been off for a while. We're working on it, putting things together, and then come back again strongly.
And I know you also do community MCing all over. How is that coming?
I'm still kicking on it, bro.
Man, I must say that I really do admire your tenacity and how you're able to juggle all of this. You are MCing here tomorrow, the next day, today you're doing this, the next day you are with GNC, and so I must really recommend your sacrifice to the community. I'm sure they're not even paying you. GNC is not giving you any money.
Of course, yeah. It's just our commitment to and then our dedication to their community. That's a little way that we can also serve the community and bring us up.
And so in his presence, it's still on every Sunday?
In his presence, yeah, still on every Sunday. I mean, trying to bring it up probably when things get better. The team is trying to put on probably maybe 2 shows a week or something. So
okay,
we give you a heads up when we are ready and then trying to get on board.
Okay. All right. So before we continue, we'd like to acknowledge your fans here. There are some fans who are cheering Cosby on. So this is from Rich Khan is here. Mousy also says, Madam Dzifa, my sweetest of hearts. And then hey, Cosby, you get fans. So two fans so far for Cosby. Cosby is such an awesome person too. and then my own senior, my brother, Hosi Abena Jerry. Thank you for the support. So, as welfare manager, coordinator, all of that, what exactly is it that you do?
I mean, generally, as welfare manager, my job is really kind of broad to seek the welfare of our community, talking about the Ghanaian community here in Chicago. So making sure our lives are better in any way that we can help people, that we can do. Yes, we could have done better, but as you know how GNC operates, it operates in its own style. I'm just an executive welfare officer, but I'm not the main thing. Like everything that we do goes through the whole GNC board before the executive will run it. So it's really more like, let's say, I don't know, we have to take something from the GNC itself. It's a body or so that we can operate. So my job as a welfare officer to make sure lives here are better in any way that we can.
So as the welfare manager, thank you for making life good to know that you make people's life better. So next year, in the wake of your duties, I'd like to come for some free tickets because you have to make my life better now. So so I know who to come to for tickets for Ghanafest next year. But we have seen a trend in Chicago, at least from my perspective. I've seen a growth of African culture in the city. But you guys are in the thick of it. You've been on the ground for, I'll say, years. Apart from Ghanafest, which you have been involved in, the three of you, and I'll start with Cosby. Which other African countries have you seen engage the city of Chicago through culture? And what's your perspective when it comes to the growth of other African communities when you come in that space, when it comes to culture in the city of Chicago?
Me personally, I've been to just, a few African events outside Ghanaian. But like you said about the growth and then all that, I think we are doing well, which we can do better since this is we are in a place where not in our own homeland. So sometimes things might be a little bit tougher somehow, but I believe we are doing well by spreading and then displaying our culture to this part of the world based on where we come from.
Cosby is keeping his answers short, and I know why. But I'll push him to. He's keeping it very political. Abena, your observation of African culture in the city of Chicago, you think it's grown? You think it's impacted the city, and how?
I would say I think that it's grown. I think maybe from being a lot younger and also teaching people about African culture. I think there was a lot. So in mainstream media that kind of showed people, or at least told people what Africa was like. And it kind of really maybe deterred, or it also separated people. I think with the growth of Afro beats and it being actually into mainstream now, like, you go into the stores. The other day I was in the store and I was listening and I heard Rima. So being able to walk into regular stores like an Old Navy or even I think it was like an H&M and hearing more of Afrobeats, I think that it has grown. I think people have also ventured off more into coming to learn about Africa in different sense, whether it be from different festivals that are in Chicago or people learning about it, or even the media itself now wanting to portray Africa or assist in portraying Africa in a different light. I think that has also grown as well too.
That's a great observation. Thank you so much. Dzifa, do you see a lot of other nationalities or other races not even moving towards, but seemingly accepting African culture by way of whether they're buying our clothes or going to festivals or listening to music, like Dzifa said? That's obvious to me, but from your perspective and having been on the ground and being in this space, Dzifa.
Yeah, I do. Can everyone hear me better now? I don't know if that's getting any better. Okay. So I do see a movement, and I have talked about how Afrobeats is taking over the music industry. I did talk about that a few weeks ago. I do see that. I think I am not the interviewer here, but I think the biggest question is, where is the influence coming from? Is it those of us in the diaspora creating, or those of us within the area, right? The geographical area. Are we the ones causing that impact? I think that's the biggest question we should be asking. And that's something that I wake up every day. My husband is a historian. And so those are questions that we always ask. So within Chicago, are we the people, you and I, or those of us on the platform right now, are we the people creating that wave? Or is it some other impact creating that wave? I am not an interviewer, but I think that as you are interviewing us, I have found the right platform to ask that question as well. So, I throw that back to you, Senna. So that's one thing that we can choose to discuss. Maybe it's not on your platform, or it's not part of your questions, or something that we should discuss. But that is one thing that we should be thinking about.
On this platform, if we don't discuss African diaspora issues or African issues, then I don't know which other platform, because CNN doesn't, CNN, ABC, NBC, the major platforms, Power 92, V106.3, V103, maybe WVON. They have a show called Straight Talk. Those are, I think that's when you hear some stories or some discussions regarding Africa. This is the main, for me, this is the main platform in the Midwest, in Chicago. This is our focus. So yes, it's appropriate to ask. And I'll say, having thrown the question back to me, thank you so much, Dzifa. So today we have a special co-host, myself, Alinko, and then Dzifa is my co-host. So we'll manage the questions. Dzifa, I think yes, indeed, we are making that change. We are having that effect. You and I, the work you and I are doing, the work that the Ugandan community, what's his name, the Guinea community, Nigeria, Togo, Zambia, Senegal, Cameroon, all these African communities, Zambia, I think have contributed immensely in the growth of the culture and effecting that cultural acceptance, or the African culture acceptance in the city. Of course, we may not have set our goals to do exactly that, but the work that we have all put in, especially our elders, those who started this before us, like Patrick Woodall of Africa International House, Ephraim Martins of Martins International, right? Mama D, who's in the Caribbean community, who else? And so I believe that definitely over the decades, the work has, affected or impacted people of Chicago in a way that they have been very assimilated. They become very assimilated to the culture. And of course, with the advent of Afrobeat. Now, we wouldn't say that we own that, because internet has caused that increase in that genre being listened to the diaspora. But of course, we have played a role, even when it comes to Afrobeat. Remember Cosby, when we had the WGHC, it's all we would play. We'll play that the whole time. We were playing this 2016, 17, right? And it was on air. We're playing a lot of Afrobeat, doing engaging the community in tournaments. We had a festival at Broadway and Wilson, promoting African culture. So, Dzifa, there are tons of reasons why I can be proud of being part of that journey. And of course, I know, and you all should be proud too. And I really want to commend the work that you have done, especially with Ghanafest, because Ghanafest, I think you guys are averaging at Ghanafest, at least for the past 5 years, if not 3,000, at least 2,000 to 3,000 people every year. I think one time you had about 4,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me go to what's his name, Abena.
Ghanafest averages about 4,000 to 5,000, over 5,000 people a year.
That's what I'm saying. And if you have been impacting people with the type of culture that Ghanafest displays every year, And if you're averaging 4,000 to 5,000 people every year, can you imagine the multiplying effect of that, right? And is a pure display of true African culture when you go to Ghanafest. And I know the other African countries have been doing the same. So yes, I think, in my opinion, the African communities, including Ghana National Council, have increased the awareness of African culture, and I think it has impacted the city so much. Every governor, I think, in the state of Illinois, in recent memory, from Blagojevich, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know Blagojevich has been to Ghanafest before, but apart from him, if I'm not I'm not too sure. But we have Pat Quinn, we had the recent Rauna. I think Governor Priska is the one that has not been to governor yet. But we've had all kinds of personalities, government, local, international personalities at Ghanafest. So I truly believe that we have played our role. Dzifa, does that answer your question?
No, it was a question for all of us to answer, and also think about how we are all impacting.
No, but would my response answer your question?
To some extent, it does, and we do have a lot of work. We cannot be satisfied with where we are, because
Absolutely.
there is so much work for us to do when it comes to how far we can go and how much work we still have to do.
Okay, how far do
Specifically,
you think we can go?
how much do I think we can go? It's not up to me to think of what I think. It's up to we as a community to think of how far we think we can go. Specifically, when it comes to when we are even having our festivals, who should be our greatest target? So those are things that we as Ghana National Council can focus more on, and we have been working really hard on that. Those are things that we are really targeting. So that's part of this administration's goal. So
Okay.
that was one of the things that I deliberate. That's why I brought that a conversation, that it can't only be for we. It's Cosby, Abena, myself, and the administration. It comes back to everybody within the community to say that I know somebody who is not Ghanaian who can come to the festival to learn something. Because sitting down and thinking that I can only tell somebody about how beautiful our culture can be without them coming to experience a little bit of it, it's not just fulfilling. So having them come in can be more. It's more fulfilling than just explaining. So that's one of the reasons why I raised that question, where all of us can be involved in getting people to broadcast what our culture can be.
Great response. What I will come back to you to give me is, I want to know it from you personally, because the onus of us promoting African culture is
Awesome.
very relative to everybody. Some people wouldn't have the responsibility of promoting African culture. Everybody has their goal, but there are a few people who have been mandated, especially within the Ghana community, which is Ghana National Council, which is what you decided to take the responsibility for, as someone who runs Ghanafest and is in the helm of affairs and takes decisions and is part of decision making as a team. I would like to know your personal opinion on certain things. But before that, Cosby, can you give us? Would you comfortably say that this year's Ghanafest had seen more numbers compared to last year's?
Technically, I can say yes, because before COVID came in and all that, we were getting there. It was getting bigger, and then COVID came in. So after COVID, this is the second Ghanafest we've hosted, and then I can tell, if it's not the biggest, it's one of the biggest. Yes, it's grown bigger. Yeah.
What do you think influenced the I would say the size of the crowd this year, Cosby?
I think we spread out the word. promotion wise, and then people, like we said, they are Afrobeat, and then people are now getting to know more of our culture, like African culture as a whole. So now most people are trying to get involved in it. That, I mean, plus whatever we put on board also are contributed to it as well.
Thank you so
Am
much.
I clear on that?
No. That's I think you're right, because I saw a lot of promotions, of course, on ABC. I think ABC. You guys were on ABC, right?
Yes.
Okay, mainstream media. Abena, can you give us a structure of Ghanafest, the GNC administration? I know you have a new president now, and tell us about that. Yeah, give us a little, I would say, experience when it comes to the old presidents. Of course, there's this new president. I'm forgetting his name. But how has that transition been with a team? How do you guys take it, and how is it affecting the whole motivation of the entire team? Can you help us understand that? We're not there, but of course, we are curious to know.
So, yeah, right now, so President Kassim Abubakari, that is the new president of GNC. He was the vice president for the past 6 years for Mr. Pakwasi Sam. So with that transition, I feel as though it's opened some doors, I think, for younger generations to really get into the mix. What I see is that there's like this middle age difference between, I would say like 25 to 40. And I would say that because those are the ones who were like younger when they were older being in it. And then now we're the age group that has kind of moved into the new spot of where it is that they started. And with that, I feel as though this middle generation, or sometimes I call it like the bridge generation, because we were a part of the people who were with it when the initial traditions were growing and coming forth. And then now we've grown to it. So it's like we still have some reach to the younger generations through whether it's some of our cousins or nieces or even own children themselves. But then we still understand the traditions that our elders have also instilled into us. So with that, I feel as though we have a lot of responsibility, because what we're needing to do now is really educate the younger generation, because eventually we'll get older. And the whole point of everything is to be able to pass it on so that the next generation will be able to keep on the legacy going. So I feel as though this middle generation has a lot of responsibility in making sure that they engulf themselves in these traditions so that they can move on, because our elders are getting older and, you know, their time is coming to transition. But if they all transition and us as this middle generation don't also take a hold of it, then our younger generation will lose it. So I feel as though with that, we've been able to come in and kind of bring some newer ideas into how it is to reach the community. I believe social media has been a huge impact, because you can just reach so many people at a quicker amount of time and a broader amount of time. Now, if you post something in Chicago, it doesn't just hit only Chicago. It can hit Ohio, it can hit New York, it hits Atlanta, then it hits internationally to other countries and things of that sort, when before that opportunity wasn't really available unless you were on the news. So with that, we've been able to kind of encompass some things so that you can find ways of reaching like the newer generations and having them feel like they have an understanding, or at least they can get into it as well too, while still trying to encompass what your elders have taught you as well, to kind of keep the glue still moving.
How significant is African culture in this city? As again, as an administrator with GNC, you want to respond to that question, Abena?
I think it's very important, because to me, I feel as though Chicago is a huge melting pot of cities. Not saying that other cities don't have it as well too, but I do feel Chicago, or sometimes some areas in Illinois, are more accepting of other cultures. And of people expressing their other cultures. In the summertime, there are tons of festivals that go on. in Chicago. And then all types of different races and ethnicities, they create their own festivals within this summertime. And I feel as though everybody is very open into going to go visit that festival and learn more about it, whether it be just like the Silver Room Block Party, or if it be like some of the food truck festivals as well too. Everybody's very much so open in going to other areas. So being able, especially with such a large African community that we have, and still being able to hone in on your roots with the groups of people that you are with, it makes a huge difference. I mean, we see it in different communities that, you know, the Middle Eastern communities, they bind together. The Asian communities, they bind together. Latino communities, they bind together. So it's nice because it's still, you get to still bind with your people to an extent of someone who understands your culture as well too. Not so much that they're your people, but they understand your background. So now we get to band together, and then we create a way so that we can express our backgrounds to other countries as well too, and make them feel invited to learn more about us. And when you start inviting other ethnicities into your culture, it breaks down like a lot of stigmas that people naturally have, or stereotypes that people have about your culture. And then it also helps other people become more open-minded on accepting other cultures as well too. So I feel as though the Africans within the communities, even like the Nigerian communities, even with like, you know, like Bantu Fest and the African Festival and all of those, really starting to make their voices known and heard is like a great thing for the city in general.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for the response. You're watching the Progressive Mind Show. We're glad to be back after a month or two break. And this is our first episode after coming back. We're talking about the African culture in Chicago, basically looking at the trend and how everybody has contributed, especially the main stakeholders. Talking about the Bantu Fest, Ghanafest, Africa International House, Africa International Fest of Life, and Africa International Fest of the Arts. Abena, correct me if I'm wrong, but all these festivals have contributed immensely to promoting and creating the awareness, the understanding of African culture. Very, very important. Humanity started and is from Africa, and as descendants from the continent, it's very important that we hold on to it, because a people without its knowledge, a people without knowledge of its history is like a tree without roots. And so it's very significant that we hold on to the culture, not just hold on to it, display it, be proud of it, and then share it, just like we learn other cultures. It is about it's 4:41 p.m. Central Time. As I stated earlier, the show now is on Sundays from 4 to 6, and Tuesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. We are excited to be back, and this being our first episode, very, very excited to be engaging this team from GNC, Ghana National Council, and they are responsible for Ghanafest. And we'll go back to my guests to listen more, and hopefully we can wrap the conversation. If you want to be part of it and ask questions or just say hi to them, the number is 815-277-5047. 815-277-5047. You can ring in, share your opinion, or ask questions, or just basically recommend ideas on how, as leaders, we can make our society and the city of Chicago a better place, understanding that it's a beautiful city, but of course has its challenges. And so how can culture play a role? So I'll just take that question to Dzifa. How can culture play a role in curbing some of the challenges that the city of Chicago has been facing? Notably is gun violence, and of course kidnapping of children, and all of these devices that we're facing in the city. How can culture play a significant role in curbing that, Dzifa?
That's a very tough one, though. Specifically,
Cosby is laughing because he's like, that's an easy one. I can handle that. So you can pass it on.
That's a tough one, bro.
That's a tough one. Gun violence. gun violence in Chicago. You earlier on hit a point that and Abena took us to that area. Both of you took us there. We all have our roots rooted somewhere. And gun violence is something that when everyone hears it, specifically in America, some people want to point it to Chicago or point it to LA now specifically. And it kind of breaks my heart because our city, Chicago, is a very beautiful place, to be honest. And Chicago is not just known for gun violence. It's a very rich multi-cultural city. We have that already rooted here in Chicago. We display so many different cultures here. We are a city of different backgrounds. It's very, when it comes to immigration, we represent different countries, and we do represent multicultural backgrounds. How can culture curb all these gun violence and violence in general in Chicago? One of the things is, I can talk about our culture in general. We do not have a lot of activities going on in Chicago. That's one of the things. One of our old saying in our culture is, when you find idle hands will find something to do. And what do idle hands normally find to doing? They find the negative things to do. So some of the things that I think that specifically, if the city would allow us, and here I go with our Ghana house, is one of the things would be if we can find cultural venues or areas where people can actually, the city can actually invest in cultural activities, where people can go there and invest their time, study. It's not just studying, like the fine arts. Fine arts are things that really psychologically, takes people's minds off so many things, specifically when it comes to depression. I am not a psychologist, I'm not a counselor, but I can tell you that those are things that when people are suffering from post-traumatic disorders and stuff like that, it really curbs them. But culture, specifically, when we talk of violence, I hate to sound this way, but people like to throw it on Black people. And where do we see all these inactivities happening? Where people are so idle, it's normally in the Black neighborhoods. If they can, if the city can invest more into cultural activities in those Black neighborhoods, where our people can find something to do during ideal time, kind of find where their roots are. Some people are really struggling from just not knowing their background. It is very traumatizing to know that an Irish can trace their background or their roots to 100 to 250 years back, 400 years back. But my Black brothers cannot do that. The fact that they can't do that, can you grant them something little where they can just focus their roots and energy into something like that in those neighborhoods? Those are some of the resources that I think culture can curb, can even help manage some of these violence in such areas. That's just where my mind goes. So when you ask me that, that is where my mind can just go in a blink. I can't think further, but I think that for me, when I'm depressed, I tend to dancing, I tend to singing. But what kind of dance do I tend to? I tend to bobobo. That's what I tend to, because that is comforting. So you think about putting an art institute in the south side of Chicago, where somebody can go and connect to the ancestors culturally. Tell me if that would not help. That's all I can say.
Man, okay, so you that's a brilliant response, and I really appreciate that. Cosby, she said when she's stressed, bobobo is her go-to dance. What is your go-to dance when you're stressed, Cosby? But on a more serious note,
right?
But I still wanted to respond to that question, though. Your go-to dance. But I think that she's made some very powerful points, and these are very powerful points. In your opinion, what can you add to it, or would you also very much so agree to what she said?
Yes, I do agree to what she said. Like, if you talk about culture, trying to care about what is going on in our cities,
Yes.
uh, like we say, we don't really have places where we can meet and train people, or I mean, explore our culture to them.
Mm.
I know I'm not trying to brag, but let's. I'm from Ghana, so I can talk about Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Ghana is really, we have a really like a peaceful culture and peaceful way of treating people.
Mm-hmm.
Our mindsets are, because of the way we have been brought up,
Mm-hmm.
and our culture, our mindsets are a little bit different
Mm-hmm.
versus, let's say, the others, which I can name whoever it is in general.
But you say
So
other black people in Chicago, right? Either the other black communities.
other black people in general.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So because I know, I'm talking about what I know.
In Ghana, yes.
In Ghana.
As a Ghanaian.
As a Ghanaian, yes. So if we have those accesses as like places and stuff that we can do to also bring our younger generation into what we learn from back home, and invest that into them, I think some way, somehow, that can also help care about these violences and then calm people down of their mindsets and who they are. Yeah.
No, the great point. I will now quickly add your voice to this, and then we will go into this year's Ghanafest, some of the takeaways and what people should look forward to for next year. Abena.
I feel as though, to an extent, that maybe more trade or like interest activities should be available for students within like Chicago as well too. I think I just saw that like Thornton High School, hope that's correct, they created like a whole wing where it's dedicated to being a barber or like a hair salon stylist, where they have the booths, they have, I think there's like a nail tech as well too. I think more trade opportunities, because I won't lie, I mean, it's not everybody who really wants to go to college, but then that doesn't mean that they don't have a skill within themselves. And I feel as though there's not a lot of opportunities for students in Chicago to really be able to express like different trades. Just as Dzifa was saying, like going to an arts like institute, there's so many different form of arts. It doesn't have to be that you're a painter. You could be a ceramic, like a pottery maker. You could also do dancing, singing. You could also do like being a musician and artist. Like there's so many broader ways, and there are so many different opportunities. I think even now that we've seen that there are ways for you to become successful without it so much being honed on that, oh, you have to go to college. So I feel like broadening up their horizons to see what they can do past that. A lot of the times I feel as though people kind of put Black people in a box in terms of like, if you're not really like a sports athlete, or if you aren't just like a singer or a rapper, like you're not going to make it. And that's just not true anymore. So I would say looking into ways like that. I think that Black people do have a culture, because I feel like there's two different types of cultures. There's a culture that was in Africa, and there's a culture that was in America. And that within itself, there's hundreds of things that Black people have done. We know that there are so many inventions that are even in the US that were created by Black people. So it's not that they don't have a culture. I think they don't understand that they do have a culture to an extent, and they should also take that with the utmost, like highest regard as well too. We've had so many people that have been able to really make strides within the world, and without Black people in America who actually created those inventions. Right now, you want to have a toilet seat, GPS was created by a Black woman. Peanut butter was created by a Black man. Even like the golf putts, the teas, that was created like by a Black man. Potato chips were created by Black people. Like the stoplights were created by Black people. The air conditioner systems were, there's just like so many things that they created that sometimes I feel like that gets honed down and washed over to the side. And I don't feel like we should do that. I feel like we should figure out a way to continue to express that our culture, that is a part of our culture as well too, for Africans and African Americans in general.
Wonderfully said. And I think the cell phone too, among the many inventions by Black people. So thank you so much for sharing. Having said this, would it be then very prudent for not just Ghanafest, but other festivals, but specifically Ghanafest, because that's the topic for discussion today, to include, and I know this was being done some years ago. Ghanafest had a stand just like you had for all the local chiefs. There was one for the African American community, right? They had their own chief and their own village, but I don't know what has happened to that. But do you think that in the future, Ghana Fest can include a bit much more of African American culture, where we can teach the entire community, or it will be a platform where we can use to promote some of the things that you said, Abena, because it is profound, the creation and invention and the contribution of Black Americans or African Americans to not just to this country, but to Africans and to the entire globe. But a lot of us don't know it. So with the platform, with a huge platform that Ghana Fest has, would you think that it would be a great opportunity to teach the masses by inculcating a lot more of African American culture within Ghana Fest? Is that something that can be explored, or are you already, is the team already massaging this conversation?
So we do have like the African American stool this year. Their chief, he was in Ghana during Ghana Fest, so they weren't able to participate within this year. But we are pushing the envelope in terms of being able to reach out to more African American communities. I think one thing within the year of return, and with the way Africa has started to be portrayed, African Americans themselves want to learn more about Ghana, and they want to learn more about Africa in general. Before, you used to, it may sound cliche, but it's true. I mean, before, it used to be told like, Africa, go back to Africa, or Africa wants their color back, or everything like that. But now it's actually growing for them wanting to learn more about Africa. And I feel with them wanting to learn more, then when you teach, it'll actually be absorbed, versus it seems as though you're just teaching just to teach. Yeah. Teaching comes from wanting to learn as well too. If you don't want to learn, then that's that avenue. I think what Ghana Fest does is that it helps open up that door. For it to be in its 35th year, that's a huge thing that our elders kind of put together just as a nice, technically like a family reunion for all of us to get together one time in the summer, to now it's grown to the way that it's even grown in the first place. I don't know if they really thought that something so small that they started would grow into that. So now that, knowing that Chicago is like a sister city of Ghana, and then knowing that, and it being on the south side as well too, and being able to find different avenues through publicity, with how Felicia was able to assist us within the past years of really getting onto a lot of like major news stations, so that we could be able to expand and express the word as well too. It's helping to open that door. I believe that, just as people have like community centers that they can go to, even if it's like your Park District Center, just as Dzifa was saying about like the Ghana House, us being able to have that community center would help somebody who does want to learn more about Ghana. It does help them with learning more about cultures. We have like our youth secretary who's interested in creating like Ottawa dance classes and more opportunities for like the youth to want to come in and learn different things. But it does definitely help to have like a home base. And I think like once we're able to like really get that home base, then it'd be like an open door. And then it's anybody who can come, whether we have like after school programs, whether we have cooking lessons that you can learn as well too, whether if we have like historian lessons where you can come and sit down, whether we have like language lessons, being able to have that like home base, so then everybody can just can just walk in freely and learn. I think that's where it'll help grow into it being able to be more accessible to more.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, you all, for sharing so far. And I think that you all have made powerful points, including the point that Dzifa made earlier, which is if the city or perhaps the mayor can invest in these cultural facilities, perhaps it could engage all these youth, because we see them on TV, right? See all this, some of this youth running around in downtown, blocking streets and jumping on cars. But if we had some of these cultural centers, we could absorb a lot of them there. Like you said, whether they are learning how to cook jollof or learning how to dance baba or adowa or ban logo, or just learning their culture, learning other African languages, Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Gan, Tree, Ewe, just Swahili. These things will be fun things to them. Well, hopefully that can be done. And I think these are great points. The work has already been done, and there's more to come. And I believe that with a vision that you all have, we can get there. It's still the Progressive Mind Show. It's a minute to 5 p.m. and we are talking to the team from Ghana National Council. Today's conversation is post Ghanafest, and of course looking at the general effect of Africa's culture in the city of Chicago and how it can help curb some of the challenges that the city faces, for example, crime and gun violence and other issues. Now, hopefully, the authorities can hear the part of this conversation and give us the resources to do what we need to do. We wanted to have this show, just wanted to have an hour for this show. I know Dzifa needs to leave. Dzifa, please put a message in the private chat if you have to, so we can excuse you. I just have a few more questions, and then we can wrap up this conversation. If you're watching us live on Facebook and on YouTube, let's like it and share it, so we can all participate in the community building process. The next question I want to the next person I want to talk to is Cosby. People have said that why is Ghanafest and Bantufest held the same day? These are two. I'll say they're not competitors, but these are some of Chicagoans' most favorite festivals, and so you're breaking people's hearts. So what can be done with that issue, Cosby?
Honestly, I don't know how many years Bantufest has been running. But
I think 4 or 5 years, maybe, Abena?
Yeah. Ghanafest has been running for 35 years now.
Okay.
And it's almost held on the last weekend of July. So just like 5 years ago, we just saw Bantufest came in and all that. And then we are all mostly like we are trying to portray the African culture or the Black culture in general. So to me, if I had a way, I would say we can split the day. But how do we split that? The oldest reign in general. Hey, I'm for Ghanafest. We've been running this for 35 years, and so it's more like to me, it's more like a competition. That's what I can say. It's more like a competition, because if we are spreading one word, I don't think they would have picked that same weekend that we used.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not an attack, but it is a general talk.
Cosby, you said you've been running Ghanafest for 35 years. Come on, bro. Sure. You said you have been running Ghanafest for 35 years. You know you have not running. No, I'm just no,
I'm talking. I'm representing Ghanafest, so you GMC.
I know. I'm messing with you. I know you. I know what you meant. Abena, how can we reconcile this situation quickly, so that I know Dzifa has to go?
Oh my goodness. So I actually had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Songo, who is like the co-founder of Bantufest at Passport Vibes. And we actually had a conversation about it. So it just happens to be that's the date that falls per se. So we'll like discuss more and see how it is, because I was very sad that I couldn't attend Bantufest because I love A. Marie.
Mhm.
And so I was highly sad that I couldn't even go to Bantu Fest and see A. Marie. Like when I knew A. Marie, that was back when I was like, a lot younger. So I wasn't allowed to go to her concerts or anything of that sort. So now that I'm older and I kind of missed out, I was very sad. And then he also loves Sarkodie.
Mm.
So he himself was sad that he couldn't come and see Sark as well too.
Okay.
So it's a very wonderful thing. I think it's great that like everybody wants to learn about both versions of how it is that they're expressing African culture.
Mm.
And so, and then it being at Washington Park, I think Washington Park holds a lot of monumental, kind of like a lot of monumental like African culture within it. I mean, African Fest is there. That's also where the circus also happens as well at Washington Park. So I think we'll see what happens throughout the years and see maybe how it can possibly be on different dates. I think one thing Ghanafest is that it's just always been on the last Saturday of July. And I think that's just been its staple just because of the fact that it's the easiest thing that Ghanaians have been able to at least remember. When you have family reunions, sometimes they fall on different dates. Right. But saying that it's the last Saturday of July, like next year, I'm not really sure what July's dates last Saturday is for next year's dates, but I know that if I tell somebody it's the last Saturday of July, then that's it. So we'll see how things move on in the future, but we're all here for everybody's. A lot of people like to also festival hop. So, they'll go to Bantu Fest for a bit. And then I think that's the great thing is that each festival, you have all day entry. So you can go to Bantu Fest for a little bit. Then, you could come on over to the other side of Washington Park and then come to Ghanafest, or you could switch it out. So you do have that flexibility as well, too. So
okay. Well, maybe if you can give us Bantu Fest the weekend before Ghanafest, I think that will help a lot of people.
Exactly.
But we'll see. We'll see. It's fair to, of course, Ghanafest can change their dates. If anything, Sylvain, you have to change your date. Simple, pure and simple. There's no question about it. Just change your date, put it on the day before. It helps the the community. Everybody gets to witness both festivals because again we all love it. We all love both. So, so a few more questions, 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap up this evening's conversation. If you want to congratulate the team that put it together, please feel free to call 815-277-5047. There's a gentleman who wanted to call in today. He has some questions for you guys, but I think he's not. He's probably not online right now. Let's look at take home for this Ghanafest and what. First of all, how do you all get feedback to improve on the processes or the management of Ghanafest to keep it getting bigger and bigger? How do you do that, Dzifa? Even if there is any mechanism like that.
So we all work inside. We don't work inside. We're a team, but everyone is assigned an area. So within the business area, one thing that I think I was breaking, but I wanted you to know that I'll take this a little back. One of the areas that the business team works on is the operational side of things. So we work on ticketing. We work with vendors. So if we have any feedback when it comes to ticketing, it comes to us. It comes to our office. If we have any feedback that has to do with vendors, it comes to our office. So we take those feedbacks and then we address it when it comes to the general committee. And then we work on improving that for the next event. So that's one area that I can talk on. So there you go.
Yeah. So what is the feedback mechanism? So do people? Of course, people. I don't see people signing up at the door, at the gates. But how do people reach out to you on Facebook? Do you do active source of feedback? I mean, how is that done?
So I'll take it again. Like the vendors, we work directly with our vendors, right?
Okay.
So we do have that connection with all vendors.
Okay.
And then we do have connection with those who worked with the ticketing. So the security team is also connected with the ticketing. Then we have our VIP social team who are connected with ticketing. Abena was the major person with ticketing. I was a major person with vendors. So that comes back to Abena and myself. So we have all those feedback. Whatever did not work, remember, we're going to do better next year. So all those feedback comes back. Another thing that we did from last year to this year was we contacted all our vendors And any feedback we got back, we tried to do better this year from that. So anything, all the changes you saw this year, specifically with vendors and ticketing, it's because of what we got from those last year.
Awesome.
So whatever changes you will see next year, you should know that those are the major feedbacks that we got. So we're trying to always do better.
Awesome. And what's the number one, not complaint, even if it's complaint, the number one complaint or feedback that you get, you've gotten for the past 5 years?
I'm not going to speak for 5 years, but I can speak from specifically last year for vendors. One thing was people getting in touch with those who have always come back, our regulars, the vendors, making sure that they were able to pre-assign their space. So what we did this year was we made sure that our regulars, we got in touch with them early. They were the first we got in touch with to make sure that they knew that we had opened enrollment. So we opened up enrollment. We got in touch with them way ahead of time. We also made sure that whoever paid, so when you, upon payment, you had your chance to pick your spot. So it was more like a roll. You know how the airline works? When you pay, you get a chance to pick your seat. We gave all those options. Previously, we did not. So those were feedbacks that we got, that people did not want to get there very early in the morning to pick their spot, because then people were getting to the park at 5:30 a.m. Abena and myself are not going to get there at 5:30 a.m. You know, we've been working so hard. We had to make sure that we had our internal meetings and stuff like that. So we made sure that those feedbacks we got, we did work on those. And Abena did very well. I'm going to give her credit for that. She did very well, making sure that she was on the park so many times to make sure that she had the parks pre-assigned before the day off.
Yeah. You said you wouldn't get there at 5:30 a.m. So I guess the people that get there at 5:30 a.m. will be Kakape and Cosby then.
No, we still got there very early. I'll tell you that the president was there very, very early. We don't have a choice. That was just a sarcastic statement.
Gotcha. No, but I know for sure if anybody has to get there early, it has to be Kakape or Cosby.
This time around, it was the president himself.
It was the president himself. So please,
president
we
himself.
would, yeah.
Impressive. Abena, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, no. The president, I mean, he spent I think people kind of underestimate the park and the amount of work that comes into the park. I mean, not only do we get it from vendors as well, too, but we get it from the community. They reach out to us. They'll just tell us. A lot of people will come up to different members that they see within the community, and they'll tell them. We get answers from our Facebook, our Instagrams, the reactions from even when we're posting recaps, and people are even posting that they even came to the festival. That lets us know too how many people actually come and let us know what it is that's going on. There was one gentleman who said that even though Ghanafest has been going on for 35 years, it was his first time, and he was an older gentleman, about I'd say maybe in his 80s, and it was his first time actually attending, and it was the best time that he had, and he's going to make sure that he never stops coming. I think that's just it's a beautiful testament. I think this year held that a lot more people stayed in the park versus previous years, and kind of seeing at 2:00 how many people were outside was wow, was a huge wow moment. I was speaking with
2 a.m.
No, 2 p.m.
Oh.
No, at 2 p.m.
Okay,
and people were at the park at that time. That was a really large number. Sometimes when you're working on the sides, everybody else within us, we're all working in our departments. Cosby works the technical side. If I was working the vendor side, I was working ticket booth side. President works everywhere. Vice president works everywhere, and other that source. So when you're in it, you don't really notice it until maybe if you can take that step to take a step back and look at everything. And to me, I was kind of in awe to see how comfortable people were, how happy. It's I don't know how to explain, but it's an energy that you feel. And it was just so, everybody was so excited. Everybody was so happy. Everybody was just so relaxed, even though we're all trying to make sure everything's going as smoothly as possible. But to really get the feedback from the community to let us know those things is a huge testament. The festival takes a lot of work to put together. It's not easy to get 5,000 people into a park. It's not easy for everybody within like the planning committee themselves to take time out of their days with their own families and their own jobs and really put together this festival. The president himself was on the grounds for 24 hours and setting up the park before everybody got there. Awesome. And so, yeah. And so like the setup itself, when everybody comes, it's set up. But the fact that it's a blank slate and then we create it to be something else in terms of like staging, fencing, getting our tents set up and getting security to work together, thinking about how the guest experience would be. I think that's something else that we do too, is that we take it from, even though you're an organizer, you have to also look at it as a guest experience. If I'm a guest, how is it going to flow for me? What am I going to be able to do there? What am I going to be able to see? And creating that experience so that they can really understand what like Ghanaian culture is like. And so that it'll also help perpetuate them to even want to go to Ghana itself. That's the whole point of the festival, is to express our culture within us, but then also to other communities as well, so that you can go to Ghana. And then when you go to Ghana, you can see where maybe there are some areas that you can contribute to the growth of Ghana. We want to contribute to the growth within the diaspora, but we also have to remember back home as well too. We're giving a chance to learn more, to give more. And so being able to be in the positions that we all are in to actually really give more and to help ignite other people to want to give more and develop more is like, it's a real blessing.
How does it make you feel personally, Abena, when you talked about how somebody said, after having this Ghanafest experience, they don't ever want to miss it again? How does it make you feel personally?
I mean, I think it makes us all feel. I mean,
no, how does you? How?
Oh, okay, fine, okay.
You personally,
all right.
you heard that somebody told you that, right? And
yeah,
I know, yes, these are good feedbacks and general feedback. But personally, when you hear that internally, how do you internalize that?
It's really great because I know it because of the fact that I grew up in it. So to somebody else who hasn't grown up in my culture, to be given the opportunity to express my culture and then be accepting of the culture and then also feel the warmth of the culture is really a beautiful thing, because human interaction, these are like kind of like first impressions when you have the festival, whether you're a person who's been coming for 10 years or whether this is your first time. It's still a first impression. Even if it's somebody who's 10 years, this year is a whole nother new first impression. So being able to at least create that experience that somebody who's maybe not of the culture, but for them to feel so welcoming and feel so inviting of the culture is really a beautiful thing, because then it just shows how much it is that even though there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, we're really making strides in people understanding us a bit more. And then also how it is that we want to display ourselves to the world.
Okay, thank you so much. And my last question to you, Abena, is in the past, again, quickly, past 5 years, what has been the number one feedback or complaint from the community?
I mean, every year is a bit different.
Mm-hmm. On top of your head, like what has been a trend?
Every year is different, so I don't know if there's like really a number one complaint.
So there's not a trend of something coming up every year, no?
I mean, making more seamless tickets, like tighter security, having the different artists come and perform. I think those are all areas that we look into.
Ticket pricing?
What was that?
Ticket pricing? Do people, give feedback regarding that?
They do, and I think that people kind of have to understand where it came from. The Ghana National Council, there's not a lot of sponsorship or grants that have been given to us. So when the community does it, it's literally the community themselves putting on this program. It comes from the community themselves donating and putting in the time to even attend the program. It's definitely ran through the community. So when it comes to ticket pricing, I think there's a lot of a trend that you have to see as well too. Things that were the pricing in 1990 are definitely not the pricing now. Even
Right.
things that were 3 years ago are definitely not the pricing now. So we have to kind of look into that as well too. If there's people who would love to sponsor the festival, we love and welcome you at all points and times in life. And I think maybe understanding how much goes into the festival is also, and I mean this with our festival and any type of festival, there's a lot of back work that comes into creating these. So I think in terms of ticket pricing, we do look into all areas to find the most fair pricing, but then also we also have to look at the factor of how it also helps us as organizers
Yeah.
and to be able to continue creating this festival for the next years to come as well too.
Absolutely. So it's fair to say that tickets has been, when you look at a trend, it's always been an issue for the audience. Of course, it's not the fault of the organization, but it's something that people talk about. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, I think people talk about pricing all the time. Eggs aren't
right.
the same what they used to be either.
Okay.
So-
No, thank you so much for sharing. What would be the take homes, or the takeaway and take homes of for this year's Ghanafest celebrations? I'll start with you, Cosby.
I would say the way things were done and the way things were organized this year, technically, I think everything was orderly,
Okay.
was organized well. The traditions in terms of our chieftaincy and all that,
The
it was really,
processions.
yeah, it was really beautiful and the color, very colorful as well.
Mhm.
Artist was also on point. Yeah, I think a lot of feedback. People have wanted more, but like we said, it all
Wanted
comes
more of
back.
what?
Sorry,
People would have want more of
more of
what?
entertainment part of it as well.
Okay.
But we blend the cultural side versus the entertainment. So everything technically, it was on point. I think the feedback we had has encouraged us. Yes, we might have one or two things to adjust here and there, but in all, I'll give it a 100.
Okay. Thank you. Your take, Dzifa, quickly, your take home and the pros and cons of this year's Ghanafest.
Pros. My background is technology, so I like our ticketing. We can improve from what we did this year. It was our first year, so we would work on improvement. So that's our pro, and the cons are to do better with educating the public, and then our queuing, and then when it comes to vendors, we did better. We can do much better next year with vendors, a little bit in the areas of maybe advertising more so that we can have more commercial and corporate vendors from outside our community and invite more people from the Chicago area to come and advertise their business so that we can have more people exposed to other businesses.
Awesome.
When it comes to entertainment, maybe we should have a little bit of outreach to people within the Chicago area and see whether we can reach out more. We did do that, so maybe we can start earlier, but we did reach out more. And our entertainment this year was awesome. I wouldn't lie to you. The DJ was on point. We enjoyed it. And so I just do not know where we lacked. It's just promoting our locals that we've been trying, and we would do better in doing our promoting our locals. So
thank you so much. Abena, same question.
I think the pros are really the response of like the community. Sometimes, like I said before, when you're in it, you don't really realize how somebody else might feel. So the community responses have been, as Cosby said, very encouraging, and at least lets us understand we're on the right track. Of course, with any event, there are always areas that you're going to look for to improve.
Mm.
And so we'll definitely improve on those next year. I think every year is a learning curve. And in each year, we've adjusted it, as Dzifa said, so that it helps with creating that wonderful experience that we're all looking to have. So I'm excited for next year's. Excited for people to come back again and really enjoy the festival again. And as Dzifa was stating, finding more avenues to educate the community on Ghanaian culture, as a whole.
Awesome. And before we close out, I really want to thank you all for coming on the show. This has been very educative for myself because, I mean, even though I know you all, some of the inside story and all of that is not privy to us. And so thank you so much for sharing. I have learned, and I'm sure that our audience and those who would watch the show after would learn a lot from this, and also get from your own perspective how you feel about this festival and other festivals and African culture in general in Chicago. So thank you all so much. I'll give you the closing. I'll give the opportunity to give us your closing remarks. And in the closing remarks, I'd like you to send a message to the audience of what to expect next year. A glimpse of it. Of course, we can give all the details, but a glimpse of what to expect next year. But now you started it, but I'll start from the top and we'll come all the way down. I think we still had a thing on. I thought I had switched it. Sorry about that. We would start the closing remarks from Cosby, and I think something that we should do. Abena, when you get your turn, I'd like you to mention again from the top, all the members of the GNC team, and so we can appreciate them appropriately. Okay, but I'll start with Cosby with your closing remarks, and of course, what to look for next year.
Yes, I will say thanks for the opportunity that you've given it to us. I mean, for this platform as well. There's a way of us also spreading the word to everybody across the world, because now we are live on air. Exactly. We go everywhere.
Right.
So thanks, Progressive Mind Show and the management team as well. And then we want to thank the audience also for whatever they came out for Ghanafest. At least one thing I forget to say was it was very peaceful. We didn't have any incident as well in terms of safety and all that. So to me, that alone counts a lot. And then looking forward to next year, we have more things, and then we listening to our feedbacks. We try to improve on what we can do as well. I'll let my sisters also take over from me.
Thank you so much, Cosby. Abena.
Okay. So yes, to the community, we really would. Well, we would really like to thank you for the continued support of the festival. To everybody, people who drive, who fly in, who even within Chicago community themselves that come. It's not easy doing anything for 35 years and being able to continue to do it. So, and it doesn't go far without the attendance and the support of the community as well, too. So we definitely want to thank you for all that you've done. And we do look forward to next year being just as much fun, if not even added more features, more attractions as well, too. But then also educating you more on our culture as well. And then to the GNC executive body, they work countless hours. Over a year of planning goes in before Ghanafest even happens in July. So to our executive body, we have the president, Mr. Kasim Abubakari. We have the vice president, Dr. Eunice Cromwell. We also have secretary, Mr. Benjamin Egan, assistant secretary, Caress Ethel Odongo. We have the policy writer, Mr. Akwasi Sarpong. We have our treasurer, Mr. Bankudum Ayensu. Our financial secretary, Dr. Faith Ababio. Myself as business manager, we have Dzifa as the assistant business manager. We have our organizing secretary, Mr. Steve Day, our organizing assistant secretary, Mr. Henry Kwashi. We have our welfare officer, Cosby Michaels. We have our assistant welfare officer, Mr. Francisco Blah. We have our youth secretary who put on amazing events for the youth this year with led by Miss Monet Owusu, and then also with Desmond Owusu as well too as assistant secretary, and Charles Ajay as the assistant secretary as well too. And then we have our wonderful publicity secretary, Miss Felicia Apre, and then our sergeant at arms, Mr. Afa Amayal. And then also we have our associations as well. Without the associations dedicating their time, our chiefs and queen mothers dressing up in their regalia and seating themselves at the festival for so long, meeting so many people, all the associations that go into putting it together, the Asantiman Association, the Elway Association, the Bonomena Hafo Association, the Gadangbe Association, the Wabajeki Association, Kwawu, Okwapiman, Ochimai, the Husky Association, the Ghana Northern Union Association as well. I do believe I named everybody.
I think
But
so.
thank you so much. There's 12 of them. So
Imran
as well too, who help us every year as well too. So honestly, without all of these associations, that is what makes Ghana National Council, and this is the team that helps bring this to the park every single year. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Dzifa, your closing remarks.
Alinko, I would like to thank you for giving us this platform to talk about Ghanafest, first of all, and also pitching in to talk about Ghana National Council. Ghanafest is a moment where we display our culture, and so without the affiliate groups, Ghanafest will not have the opportunity, GNC will not have the opportunity to display our culture. So I've not already mentioned their names. If any was missed, it's by mistake, but I'm sure she hit everyone. So thanks to all our affiliates group supporting GNC to be who we are. We can't say anything more. Alinko, you asked one question and I want to address it now about feedbacks. We do not have a platform where everyone can drop in their feedback, but it's a very wonderful question you did ask. You put my mind to it. And during the course of the interview, after you asked that question, when you asked, what are we thinking of doing next? That's one thing that we can go back to the drawing board and probably do that. So you know what? Every time when we meet people like you empower us to do better. So thank you. That's one thing we can take home with us today. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. What can our viewers expect next year from Ghanafest? They can only expect better, because every year as a people, we can only do better. We can't do worse. So please, if there was anything we didn't do better from 34 years or 33 years, please drop us a message and we are willing to do better.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And where did they drop that message to?
They will drop it to you for now.
Okay.
We're on social media, so please drop us a message on our Facebook or Instagram, or you are welcome to send us an email at GNC. Sorry, I am so sorry.
And then we have a website too, the GNC website.
Our website.
I am going to send, we'll drop it right here, and then please, you are welcome to send us an email. Our website, our email is there. Please send us an email, but please, we are on social media. Everyone is on social media right now. Send us a message and we will catch that. But until we open that feedback, the depository, please, you're welcome to send us a message. Balinko, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dzifa. Thank you, Cosby. Thank you, Abena, for making the show. We really appreciate that. Before we close out completely, Ghana National Council sent a message. Comment. Thank you all. Thank you to our youth department for awesome opening acts this year. This one is from Johnny Woods. This year's Ghanafest was one of the best. I completely agree. This is from great job, Dzifa and Mike. Thank you so much for joining the feed, Felicia Apre, and for sending your comments. I think we had already put this out. This was what I was missing. We truly appreciate the commitment of all the planning committee for the Ghanafest. And this one, Isaac Isaac Agri says, well said, Abena. And then earlier we had Mr. Candyman says, big up. Well, this will bring us to the end of today's episode of the Progressive Mind Show. We hope that our dialogue here has sparked something positive in you, which is what we strive for consistently. Felicia, thank you for being the facilitator of this as usual. I want to thank everyone who joined the show. Cosby, Abena, you all have a wonderful evening. Coming Tuesday at 6 p.m., we'll be talking about abled differently. It's basically talking about disability, living with disability. We need to dive into this conversation. So able differently, this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m., we'll be looking at dealing with autism within the diaspora. And so stay tuned to that. Folks, have a wonderful evening. My name is Senna, aka Alinko. I'm the host of the Progressive Mind Show. I'm glad that you stayed with us to make this program a success. Please go on our websites and our social media, drop a comment or donate to the Progressive Mind Show. We are 501c, and of course, your donations are all tax deductible. So please make sure you're contributing to this show. We really love you and appreciate your being here with us. We will see you Tuesday at 6 p.m. Have a wonderful evening. Remember, to whom much is given, much is required. Have a wonderful evening again. Bye-bye.